Okay, Rod.
Yes.
Okay, I got a couple of questions for you.
One is, was I always this tall? For people who are watching on video, and I know that's at least both of you, we're in the same room.
For the first time in
years.
6 months. 6 months. I
16
think it has
months.
been 6 months. No, we may have been in the same room, but not the Wholesome show.
No, the show.
In the same room.
Yeah. This is danger. Because if there's an attack, there'll be no one to carry on the tradition.
There's no Vice Wholesome show.
Yep.
Vice
We need a,
President
what
of
is it? What do
Wholesome.
they call them? A designated survivor.
I should do a topic on the designated survivor. That sounds great.
Mine! I said mine! Carry on.
Okay, here's my question for you. Well, it's actually got 4 questions for you. Do you prefer to focus on the outer world or on your own inner world?
On average?
No. Which one? Outer world or inner world? So outer world, it's like parties. Do you like talking to people?
Yeah.
Or inner world, do you want to curl up with a book?
Honestly, I'm very split on that.
You can't be split.
I can.
No, you can't.
Okay, I'll say outer because it suits my persona.
Outer? Okay, good. Do you prefer to focus on the basic information you take in, or do you prefer to interpret and add your own meaning?
Oh, I interpret.
Okay, good. Are you clear on that one? That's nice.
Oh,
That's
I'm an
nice.
interpretator.
Okay. So extroversion, intuition. When making decisions, do you prefer to first look at logic and consistency, or first look at the people and the special circumstances?
Oh, the peeps. I think I know where you're going with this. I think
nice,
I know what
nice,
it might be.
Nice. All right, good. Okay.
I'll guess after the
so you've
fourth
got a
question.
Feeling. And last one. In dealing with the outside world, do you prefer to get things decided, or do you prefer to stay open to new information and options?
I tend to be a P rather than a J. Is
Oh
that
my
a good
God,
guess?
you're a P rather than a J.
Have I got that
so
right?
you prefer to perceive
I'm a
rather
perceiver.
than judge.
I used to be an ENFP. Am I guessing well here?
That's... Welcome to the Wholesome Show.
Wholesome show.
Yes, the science podcast for people.
Who sit at the back of the class?
Yes, that's it. They sit at the back of the class.
Is that the 5th question?
It could be.
Do you know your next line?
Front of the class, back of the class, in which we ask the dumb questions.
So you, dear listener, do not have to.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And me, Dr. Roderick Griffin, probably still ENFP Lamberts, but I'm not sure.
Holy shit.
I used to be.
Holy shit. You're going to love this.
I got shit to tell you about the old MBGTI.
I think you might. Like I assumed you would have opinions on this one.
Opinions? I'll get to it later. Carry on.
The Wholesome Show is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And public awareness of self.
Public awareness of self.
Yeah.
Oh,
Screw
that's
it. In these existential times, let's do that.
Public awareness of self.
Also,
Yeah,
I want to add, I mean, this is as far as I'm concerned, a new bit. We're drinking this beer right now from Bruny Island, right? It is a limited edition 2020 metric stout whiskey barrel aged deliciousness. And if you're watching on video, it looks like a wine bottle. Oh, good snapping God, it's tasty. So to the people at Bruny Island, I say thank you, folk. Thank you very much. It is wonderful.
I have to say, massive, strong endorse. So he brought one bottle. So I've got some other beers over there that look delicious as well. We'll join that in a second.
They do. They do. I mean, I saw this online and I thought I cannot resist. It is 12.8%, as all decent beers are.
It's the standard number for a beer.
It is.
Look, and so that may mean, listener, towards the end of this, the rails slip.
English could become our second language.
The rails could slip.
Yeah.
Catherine Cook Briggs. She was just Catherine Cook at the time, was born January 3rd, 1875 in Ingham County, Michigan, to a family who promoted education for women as well as men.
What?
I know.
But didn't they know back then? Women back then weren't actually capable of education, though.
Well,
that's what the science said back then. I'm not saying now.
Maybe she was somewhere else on this chart that I'll tell you about.
Could be anything. I don't know what it is. I'm just guessing.
Her father, Albert John Cook, was on the faculty of Michigan State, which at the time was Michigan Agricultural College. Her mother, Mary Harris Baldwin, attended Oberlin College. So they were an educated family, and they believed in the learning.
Well, someone has to.
Catherine herself was a highly studious child, and she was just 14 when she went to college.
As in uni?
As in uni. Uni.
We're talking late 1800s, though.
So 14 plus 1875 makes 1889.
It's pretty late.
So, yeah.
14.
It's quite young. It's quite young.
I assume you just bought your way in then, or
I think people were a little bit more flexible with age back then.
not anymore, man.
I didn't
an
realize
ageist
I didn't
system of
realize
horror.
I said that sentence. It sounds horrible. I didn't mean to veer into anything horrible.
I will. Later.
No. Despite going at 14, she ended up graduating first in her class.
Maybe because rather than despite.
Maybe. I don't know what all the other people were like.
Yeah.
She married the man who graduated just behind her at number 2. So
What a power play. All right, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number two.
I ordain to
And
accept
how long do you think, it would be a thing that you discuss at home? Like, it's like, who was the valedictorian? It was me.
If you're like me and my wife, all the time, because she won. Like, she totally won. She got university medals and high distinctions. I was like, what do I need to get into honours? Credits? I'll get distinctions.
Yeah, look, so we have probably a similar thing with my wife and I, but there is enough evidence pointing in both directions. So
that's what I say too, but I don't mean it.
Well, no, there's quantitative evidence pointing in my direction as well as hers.
I've got the get out of jail free slackers card, which is I did what I needed to and no more.
No way, no. You say I've got street smarts.
I do have. I was School of Hard Knocks, except so was she.
I was telling the kids the other day about the difference between street smarts and book smarts, and obviously I was the street smarts guy. Sorry.
You know you're in a safe room.
Where were we? Okay. Her husband, who was the number 2.
Number 2. Second best husband.
He went on to become a scientist at the Bureau of Standards. And she was expected to take care of the home. But Catherine was not terribly troubled by this. She threw herself into home raising with gusto. She was...
The Bureau of Standards?
I know, yes.
Don't you hear that and think, how many different ways could I painlessly kill myself?
Do you know what, though? We've got an equivalent Bureau of Standards here in Australia still. I don't know the exact name. It's like the Department of Metrology, like measurements and things like that. And I was shocked because I read a job ad from there the other day. And how many people do you think work there? Because my imagination
142.
Well, I thought it was one guy with a pocket protector, and he was the one that kept our good ruler. And
he's 104 years old, and he is not giving up.
No, there's like 400 people working there, and we love all 400 of you. And I was just thinking, how many new standards and things do we still need in Australia?
And also, how many of them do we set as opposed to say, thank you, Switzerland, we will do what you said?
Look, absolutely. So
yeah, okay. So he was there and she threw herself into homemaking.
Here's not the point of this story.
No.
I'm just saying, she threw herself into homemaking.
Of course he's not the point. He's number 2. We only go to number 1.
Indeed. That's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
On October the 18th, 1897, she gave birth to Isabel Briggs Myers, who would be the couple's only child who would survive infancy. I don't actually know how many other children they had, but let's assume they did have other children.
62 children.
That sounds horrible. I don't think it was that bad. But Isabel...
they were mother-daughter. That's right.
There you
Rings
go.
a bell.
Well, she was born Isabel Briggs, but yes, she takes on the name Myers a little bit later.
Because of the famous Australian department store. Unconnected.
Raising Isabel, Catherine Briggs developed a lot of theories because, as I said before, she was scientifically engaged and inquiring. A lot of theories about proper ways to raise a child. She called this her cosmic laboratory of baby training. That was the home. She was...
Cosmic laboratory of baby training.
She did some cool stuff. So first,
you don't have to defend her. That's already cool. Do you call your house that?
Yes, of course.
Do now. Cosmic laboratory of baby training. Now I want to have kids. I never have before.
Okay, so what did she do? She took meticulous notes on how she was raising Isabel. Then she took her out of traditional schooling and said, read and write whatever you want. Go to.
So she's a fucking hippie.
Yes, a hippie, but she had some sort of learning. I don't know how bad the traditional schooling was at the time. Let's assume actually it was probably not great.
Also, hippies can have learning as well.
That's true.
They're the worst kind.
That's true.
They actually know stuff. You're like,
I suspect she may have been a hippie with learning. For the 1890s, that was Catherine Briggs. That's my feeling from here.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that comes later, there is some hippie-ish with learning that shows up.
Yeah.
She did some other stuff that in the neighbourhood that was a little bit interesting. So she wanted to help design programs of education for all of the children in the neighbourhood. So she started bringing them into her house and testing their personalities.
Yeah, all fine. Fine.
Can you imagine? I mean, you drove up just before we were recording this at my house, and the neighborhood kids were over there. And I could just invite them over and say,
Do you mind if I test you?
I've got some tests.
Yeah, nothing weird about it.
My testing apparatus is
in the garage.
Stop it.
Some of it's under the house. No, it's all legit.
Yeah,
completely legit.
So these would be. She'd give them a questionnaire. And they were a forced choice, like before. You're not allowed to say I'm in the middle, but she said, "Are you yes or no? Are you A or B?" And it would be, and she'd also give this to their parents.
If I recall correctly, I'm going to feign ignorance, but if I recall correctly, it was not about whether you were absolutely one or the other. It's do you tend in one direction or the other.
I don't care.
I'm just trying to help.
I don't care.
I'm just trying to help.
No, this is a long time before. This is her first glimmerings of questionnaire.
That's true. She's just starting out. Yeah.
So she's just starting out.
So she's like, choose, fucker. Yeah.
So she would ask the parents the questions as well. Is your child calm or impulsive? Does he?
I just like it though. Yes, always calm or always impulsive.
It's tough.
It is tough.
Does he get upset very often or rarely? So that at least has some.
That I can work with. Except what if my child's a girl? One for the win. See, I care.
Ruined.
You thought I wasn't woke.
You are very good at questionnaires, though. You are very, very good at questionnaires.
I've done them before.
Does he sleep in your bed at night or sleep by himself?
Wow.
So from these questionnaires, Catherine devised a rudimentary set of different personality types of children. And I'm sorry, listener. I dug into that. I tried to find these personality types of children, couldn't find them.
Really?
So I'm disappointed in myself. But at this point, and I don't know if this is hippie or not. One of her neighbours criticised her methods, and so Catherine, who used to write a few articles in local magazines and things, and some other magazines, about parenting, she included an article that used the neighbour's daughter's name, Mary, and the article was titled "Ordinary Theodore and Stupid Mary."
Nice. And when the neighbours come knocking, it's like, Mary could be anybody. I could have been talking about Jesus, Mum.
Yeah, any Mary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of Marys.
You think you're offended now? I meant the father, daughter, mother of our Lord.
Anyway, Isabel, the only child,
brought
home from school and quite a precocious reader. When she turned the year that she turned, I don't know how old, she went to college. And she went to study political science.
Let's say 16.
Yeah, let's call her 16. And given that Catherine had spent her whole life oriented around child rearing, she fell into what's called a deep depression. At this point, she came across Jung.
Yeah.
She was sad. She didn't have her parenting anymore.
Pronounced Jung, but yes.
Jung. Yeah, J-U-N-G, Jung.
Jung.
The Australian psychologist.
Keith Jung.
Keith Jung.
Jungy.
Jung. She came across Jung's psychological types. And from that point, she would... Have you read it?
Have I read it? No. Have I been schooled?
Read of it?
I've definitely read of it, and I've indeed been examined on some of it, but not for 23 years.
Basically yesterday.
I'm a fan of Jung. Jung's very interesting.
I don't doubt. Jung is not a villain in this story at all.
And he's not a dick. I think he and Freud had a bad relationship because Freud was a dick.
Yeah.
And Jung kind of went, I don't like dicks, and he left Freud.
I think from what I've read, and not nearly so versed, it seems apparent here. Jung is a foil in this story, although he does pop up for a tiny second.
So she was reading about Jung.
Pop up, so to speak.
So yes. What you're saying.
So yeah, indeed. She was reading about Jung, Jungian types, so psychological types. So Jung was doing some work at the time trying to describe psychological types of people. Yeah. Now, as he would later say, these are just rough trends and not hard categories into which people sit.
Not really a blueprint, more like a sketch.
Yeah. I'm fumbling around in the dark here.
We're back of the envelope. We're not graph paper yet.
But anyway, Catherine, scholar that she was, she started up a correspondence with him. She wrote to him and started asking him questions. So what do you mean by intuitive? What do you mean by feeling? Yeah. How can I take these abstract categories and use them to help people in my life? She also, at this point, I'm not sure if she sent it to him, but she also wrote an erotic novel about Jung.
Yeah, but who hasn't done that?
I know.
In her defense, I've written a couple.
And again, I'm showing my disappointment with myself that I actually I was looking through this last night. I was like, where can I find this erotic novel written by the founder of the Myers Briggs test?
I'm feeling warm but not hot. I need an erotic novel about Jung to really push me over.
And you know that it would definitely, because I'll bet she poured over psychological types.
Of
and
course.
so it's going to use paragraphs of that and then into his arms.
She intuitively and perceptually fell.
She couldn't get it published, sadly.
What?
Sadly, very sadly. And instead, she began writing waltzes to honour the psychoanalyst. And
Oh my God.
one of the lyrics included, "Hail Dr. Jung." I didn't know that waltzes often had
words.
lyrics, but it did.
Now we are waltzing to Jungian archetypes.
There you go.
I mean, it is 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. The only thing that is 1, 2, 3 that...
Oh no, System of a Down. We'll do 1, 2, 3s in the middle of 5/8 and other strange.
Does it become a waltz automatically once it's 1, 2, 3?
I reckon it does.
Yes, there you go.
And if anyone's going to know, musicologist.
We are, yeah, but definitely. Oh, well, eventually when you get your other podcast out.
Which one? Oh, you mean The Forge?
Metal Fellas.
Tales from the Metallosphere, coming soon to your ears.
There you go. Okay. Catherine's life work, or her life's scholarly work, because, let's not call it scholarly. Her life's productive work.
Let's not call it scholarly.
Yeah.
Stuff she thought about.
Stuff she thought about.
Ideas in the bath.
As opposed to, she took parenting very seriously, took home life very seriously.
Yeah.
But her work outside the home then became about putting in Jung's principles into something that people could use. And she wanted to bring it, as she said, to the masses.
Yep.
So her interest in these personality types grew. On one side, she was trying to find out how she could use these personality types to write better fiction. She's writing a few.
You mean erotica?
I don't know how much erotica she wrote. There's only one.
All I'm hearing is not enough.
Indeed. So, yes, she wanted to write better fiction, possibly better erotica. I don't know.
Western fiction. Yep, carry on.
Right. But on the other side, she also had a slight problem with Isabel, her daughter's fiancé.
Oh.
So Isabel, like her mother, had come back from college with someone to whom she wanted to marry.
Was he also a number 2?
I don't know. No, I doubt it, because
Not even.
his name was Clarence Chief Myers. And no one is number 2 if their nickname is Chief.
No, you're immediately number 1.
Exactly. So, well...
What's your name? Clarence, but call me Chief.
How do you get that nickname?
I don't know, but I think I'm gonna gun for it.
You really want it? Champ? Tiger?
Chief. I went to a supermarket about 10 years ago. So what was I then? I don't know, 74. I walk in and there's this guy who was barely old enough to even stand upright, but he'd sell alcohol.
Hello, sir.
And he goes, you got any ID there, champ? And I thought, I'm so glad I'm that much older than you, that I'm probably older than your dad, and therefore that's hilarious. But I just thought, seriously, you look at me and you call me champ?
Also the ID question.
Yeah, it was my, you got any ID there, champ? It was like total Simpsons.
I'm supposed
fright.
to ask. Oh.
Champ, though. Champ. That's not your go-to for someone who's clearly decades older than you.
No, not at all.
Just
not
isn't.
Not at all. It slipped out. Let's assume it slipped out.
I thought it was hilarious.
He didn't mean it.
It was adorable. I wanted to squeeze his little pimply cheeks, but it would have gotten gunge on me. Anyway, back to the chief.
So, yeah, Catherine didn't feel that she could understand the chief. They're on the same wavelengths. And so she didn't want to just rest on this and go, it's going to be difficult. You know, off goes Isabel to her new family and I'm not going to see her again.
Yes.
Catherine said, let's do some science and let's understand the chief and then maybe we can be a little bit closer.
Interesting. Do you mind if I do some tests? Come to my basement.
Yes.
Ignore those children around the edges.
Yes.
They're going home one day.
Chief, come downstairs. Come downstairs. She felt that this was really a really important thing for her.
Yeah, in principle, I get it. It actually doesn't. It's not ridiculous.
This is not a bad hippie motivation.
Rather than
here.
saying "fuck you," she said, "I'd like to understand you better. May I do experiments
of some type.
of some type?
Questionnaires.
They can be experiments."
But yeah,
Really?
she wanted to be closer to daughter, and if she could understand Chief, then she could work with him or be mother-in-law to him.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Catherine here started to develop a stronger theory of personality types.
Yes.
And again, as she said, she wanted to take this to the masses.
Yeah.
So what she did at this point is she developed a system using little cards of paper that you would slide up and down on the table that had...
Your hand movements are mesmerizing.
I know, yeah, I'm
Is
just
this
sliding.
what, should do that too?
She wrote an article about this in the New Republic called Meet Yourself Using the Personality Paint Box.
Paint box.
And so this is what she wrote. To find one's codes and creeds, this was the promise of meeting yourself through Jung's type theory. Type was no parlor game, no frivolous exercise designed to sort people into simplistic and overdetermined categories. It was an opportunity to articulate a grand system of self-governance, a system beyond conventional notions of good and evil, beyond God, and beyond the laws of the land. It was a system in which one's personality, one's self, was the ultimate arbiter of what was right and what was wrong.
Beyond God.
It's a big call.
I'm loving it.
It's a big call.
She's gone Jungian, Nietzsche-ish, like, boom, God is dead, we're the boss, boom.
Exactly.
That's fabulous.
Know thyself and you will be beyond God.
Oh, no, wait, who is God is dead? That wasn't Nietzsche. Who was that?
That's Nietzsche.
That was Nietzsche?
That's Nietzsche. God is dead. So, yes, no, definitely. Nietzsche to Jung to Catherine Briggs. Know yourself and you have become God.
I'm okay with that.
Look.
Because why not?
I think that might have been a little bit of hyperbole there for her. I don't know if she was pushing.
A little. Can you actually say a little bit of hyperbole-ish?
Smidgen?
Can you imagine?
Hyperbolina?
You being a hint hyperbole-ish.
Hyperbolette. If you want to go grab
I'm going to get a beer.
Yeah, do that. So anyway, she said, every one of us is born either an extrovert or an introvert and remains extrovert and introvert, probably or there, to the end of his days. To meet oneself.
Are you going to unpack what she means by introvert and extrovert, or do you need me to do that for you?
Give us your definition. Yes. No, I
so the one critical thing from the MBTI, you're going to get to that, is that introvert and extrovert does not refer to the kind of personality you have, but where you derive your energy. I don't want to kill your story if that's what you're going to say.
No, I ain't going to say that.
So this is what, like, I mean, I'll say
this
now.
This is why there's two people on this podcast.
Well, okay, so
everyone's contributing.
When I years ago, before I started my PhD, I had a little period between university degrees because I thought
when you were an astrologist,
way back when. No, I did all kinds of sort of weird outdoor communication training with corporate groups. So we'd run them around in the bush.
Oh yes.
But then the consultants would book us to run their people around in the bush, and then they would come inside into the workshop at our facility, and they would do things like they would run the thing that you're going to talk about, that ultimate test.
Absolutely, yes.
And so I got interested in this because people were charging obscene amounts of money just to administer this test.
This might be the thing that I am most interested in.
I trained how to do it.
Oh, are you one of these people?
I trained how to do it.
One of these people.
Yeah, like I trained how to do it about 25 years ago.
How long does your license last?
I don't know if I got one. It was just like, you got the knowledge, you can claim that you're accredited by this particular institute.
Oh my God.
I haven't used it.
Oh, there is a little quote here that I just wanted to say just because it uses a nice word. Where was it? Every one of us is either born an extrovert or an introvert and remains extrovert or introvert to the end of his days. To meet oneself was to cast aside all other codes and creeds and to acquire a new conception of wholesome living.
Oh, perfect.
There you go. And a new basis for a happy acceptance of one's life, which is not a bad thing at all.
No, it's not a bad thing. I'm just looking at this beer. A vegan dessert stout. I'm very excited.
I don't know how many beers are not vegan.
I was going to say, I think beers are vegan. But anyway, yes, you were saying.
Okay. Catherine is further going down her Jungian archetypes.
Catherine's the mum's, isn't she? Isabel's the daughter.
Catherine's the mum, Isabel's the daughter.
Yep.
And so she's further pursuing. Isabel is keeping busy as a wife and a mother. She and Carl.
Keeping busy?
Not Carl, Chief. She and Chief.
Chief Carl. Clarence.
Yeah, Clarence.
Clarence Carl.
They had 2 children, and Isabel did, like her mother did, plunged enthusiastically into raising them well.
Yes.
And then she also wrote some fiction. I can't find any erotica.
Well, then, that's not fiction.
She wrote a mystery novel, and in fact, I think she had some success. She got some awards and wrote some plays.
Yeah.
During this time, Catherine, her mum, is trying to say to Isabel, use my theories.
For Christ's sake, woman.
Isabel's like, nah, don't want to. Not for me. Don't care. Don't care.
Leave me alone.
But things changed in the 1940s because Hitler did Hitler things and the war started. Hitler. Hitler's not in this story very much. Hitler. No, World War II.
German guy. I remember him.
Main thing, World War II started.
Yes.
And Isabel is like, okay, I want to pitch in. I want to help out. But
so she started manufacturing machine guns.
No, she didn't. Well, she actually thought that most of the volunteer things that are going on. So there's a lot of like women working in factories. This is in America. She wanted to help out with a more intellectual thing, and she thought, I'm not fit for any of these jobs. So maybe there's something in what Mum's doing. Maybe there's something where I can help fit people to the right role. And
Yep.
And so she's her search for this meaningful contribution. She read an article where a group of people were using something called the Wadsworth temperament scale. I just
Look, I've heard a lot of them, but I haven't heard of that one.
the Wadsworth.
What?
Wadsworth.
What temperance scale?
Wadsworth. Look, obviously it has died a death. Like maybe it was famous in the 1930s and 40s.
Look, a lot of people were though. That was the problem.
But this was it was a psych test designed to place people in an appropriate place in work based on their character.
Which in principle is not at all about basically turning people into cogs. It's about actually helping people realize their potential.
It's almost like, yes.
It's not Taylorism.
This is turning people into cogs. Oh, that's nice.
It's not. It's turning people. It's helping them realize
what cog
they don't even know where they really want to be.
What cog are you?
Yeah. Are you yellow? Are you blue? Are you large? Are you small? Do you have 9 teeth or 15?
Yes. So she wrote to her mum and said, "Mum, look at this. We're gonna do this. We can do this better. So give me all your stuff, and we can beat these Wadsworths, and do something far better." So she threw herself into a project creating what she called a people sorting tool.
Sure.
Her mother gave her a whole bunch of knowledge, and Isabel went about creating a questionnaire that she could sort people through. She wrote hundreds and hundreds of questions.
I was going to say, bloody long one.
Yeah. The first draft, I think, she tested them and retested them with a whole bunch of people. First draft seemed to be 172 questions, which she determined were most effective at sorting people into personality types. Later on, I think there's versions that are 93, and look, you can go down to...
There are long and short.
Yeah, the long and short versions.
But to be fair, if you're talking to people and you're saying, we're going to entirely and utterly classify your position in life...
Who you are.
Yeah, and what you're for...
I want a long test.
Yeah, 8 questions. I feel ripped off.
I deeply remember reading this blog post years ago where there's design choices you'd have on the internet, where you're doing something really small, like you're clicking like on a Facebook page or something like that.
Yeah.
You want it to kind of happen instantly. It's like, yeah, cool, yeah. I did that. But if you're filling in a mortgage application, then you don't want your bank the instant you hit the submit button to say yes, no. Or whatever it is, because you kind of want the bank to do some thinking. Of course, the computer could do it. Yeah. Like the computer has got all that data, and it's a simple calculation. Yeah. But you want it to take some time.
Yeah, at least do me the dignity of telling me why you think I'm shit and you'd never give me any money ever.
Yeah. So if I'm being categorized for the rest of my life,
I think a long question.
I want a long question.
I agree. Let's really give it the mask of credibility.
So
because detail equals credible.
So this, as you know, is what was originally called the Briggs Myers Type Indicator.
Myers Briggs, I think.
No, originally.
It was Briggs Myers first.
For the very first.
Briggs Myers first.
It was very, because...
the BMTI.
So Briggs is Catherine's name, Catherine Briggs.
Yeah.
Isabel became Isabel Myers when she was married. And so originally it was the Briggs Myers.
So it should have been Briggs.
Literally only 1 year or something like that.
Should have been Briggs. They were both Briggses.
I guess so. But in that day, once you've took your husband's name...
Then it should have been Briggs Chief.
Briggs Chief.
If we're going to go there.
Mrs. Chief, like Briggs Mrs. Chief.
Mrs. Chief Briggs.
All right, I like that.
So was it still the TI then? Was it Type Indicator or it was something else?
Type Indicator.
Type Indicator.
Type Indicator. So the test claims, and as you know, the test has had a longer life than the 1940s when it was born.
Oh God, yeah.
Test claims that based on 93 questions, it can group all of the people into the world into 16 different categories, different types. And so serve as a powerful framework for building better relationships, driving positive change, harnessing innovation, achieving excellence. So Catherine Briggs and Isabel Myers gave titles to each of these, like the executive, the caregiver, the scientist, the idealist. People seem to have changed those, though. I read a recent one where you see a lot of the commander, the debater, the advocate.
The commander.
The executive, the defender, the virtuoso, the adventurer.
Good God.
The entrepreneur, the entertainer.
I don't know if I'm aroused or like solemnified. I kind of...
Yeah. Look. We'll come to that. So they came out with as you said before, you guessed a series of 4 letters. You know, you can be an INTJ or an INFP or an ISFJ. So these 4 letters are basically corresponding to your place on the
so
grid
each
system.
letter, each point is one of 2 letters, yeah?
Yeah, each point is one of 2 letters. So you can be where we go back to the beginning. You can be extroversion or introversion, E or I, sensing or intuition, S or N, thinking or feeling, T or F,
Yep.
and judging or perceiving, J or P.
Yep.
And so from
And
each
the
of those
confusing bit
2,
is intuition is represented by N.
yes, it's not good because introversion.
Yeah.
So-
Introversion.
Yeah, exactly. Introversion or intuition.
And extroversion works.
Yeah, look, there's not enough letters, but you got to simplify it. So
Yeah.
So a choice of 2 times 4 gives you 16 different
190
categories.
it's
So a
16.
lot of people will have heard like these 4-letter acronyms, INTP.
If you've worked in a semi-reasonable sized organisation, a particularly company, you've probably been Myers Briggs. Sorry, Briggs Myers.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Well, not guaranteed, but the odds are very, very
high.
high that you will have been Myers Briggs. So they added those labels, but it seems like some of the labels have been modified over times. Isabel, she went out and tested this. She tested it on her son's high school class, students at nearby colleges, military units of family and friends. And it seems during this time, she signed a public contract to use it as a management consultant. But I think at this time, she also used it. One of the earliest clients appears to be the Office of Strategic Services, which is the precursor to the CIA.
OSS,
who used it during World War II to match covert operatives to secret missions.
Shit, yeah.
I know, right? And so obviously, they're looking.
That's excellent. I want a virtuoso creator.
Which one do you send out on a secret mission? Is it the architect, the logician, the commander, the debater, the advocate, the mediator, the protagonist, the campaigner, the logistician, defender, executive, console, virtuoso, adventurer, entrepreneur, entertainer? None of those.
Definitely the executive.
I'm
Are you a spy? I'll have you know I'm the boss of them.
I'm sending out the entertainer.
I'm in charge of spies.
Like none of those are spies.
None.
Like they're not.
None.
Possibly.
Analyst?
Logistician. Logistician might be.
Logician?
Yeah, it says logistician.
Logistician.
That's why I had trouble reading it.
I'm a logistificator.
So that's possible.
I'm thinking analyst because my understanding from watching a lot of movies
There was no analyst. There was no analyst.
Doesn't it say analyst?
No.
Analysis. My understanding of spies, particularly double agents, is they're boring, bland little people.
No. You have to be sexy entertainers.
We're watching different movies.
That's true.
Mine are more like 70s classics. You're talking about, Jason Bourne, look at the size of my schling schlong.
I don't know about. Anyway, so yeah, she the big break came when her father, who was a working academic, as we said a long time ago, Bureau of Standards, he pops back in. He got some standards that are really good, and he's
Definitely an entertainer type.
Most academics are. They really are.
Yes, we are.
They don't know
yes,
that.
we are. If you're listening, it's obvious.
And he arranged for it to be administered to the entering classes of medical school at George Washington University.
Okay.
Now, at this point, it seems like the test, they only allowed it to be tested on white men.
Well, duh. God's people.
Because they said that no women and no Orientals, because they might require special consideration.
Because they're stupid? Shorter?
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, maybe they needed a new, like a grid of 16 and then another one for the
Got to go three-dimensional for
3-dimensional for Orientals.
For Orientals. I love that language. These are Orientals, meaning not me.
Well, the thing that the not me, aren't there more than one not me?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Not if you consider all me's are white Anglo kinds of males, then everyone else is not me.
Yes.
So any word would do.
It really would have done.
And so there's us and there's
They could have done that. They could have gone, let's just do with white men because we're a little bit privileged and racist and sexist.
And we're starting somewhere.
But let's not go out there and name the other people. So
no, I say name names.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. Over the years, Things took off. She is at this point, Catherine was a little bit, I don't know if you're doing this right. I'm not sure if I love all the stats. I don't love it. She was still Jungian. She deeply
wants to feel it.
She deeply wanted more of a qualitative sort of thing.
Yeah, she wants to archetype and dream it.
And so at one point, Catherine did say, take the Briggs out of it. So it would just be the Myers or the Chief type inventory.
The chief inventory,
But Isabel said, no, Mum, no. This is both of us. Catherine still helped out, but she wasn't super involved from that point on.
Well, she'd done her job. She'd launched.
But yes, as you said, the test totally took off. So after World War II, so as I said, it seems like it might have been used by the Office of Strategic Studies. But since then, it's been used heaps and heaps and heaps. Some people say that maybe 50 million people have taken the MBTI, but I wouldn't be surprised in the modern internet age that it's way more. That there are.
Well, do you mean they've taken it with skilled practitioners?
Exactly. Well, that might be one of the differences. So skilled practitioner administering
version. I mean, come on,
or some sort of BuzzFeed quiz. I don't know, like my four question quiz at the beginning. No, that's not enough. Okay, so some estimates say that it's deployed by 89% of Fortune 500 companies.
Is that a recent estimate? Because that would surprise me 0%.
Yeah, that was an estimate within this decade. So,
okay, yeah.
So,
yep.
Many universities, schools, churches, sure, consulting companies, the CIA, the American Army, the American Navy.
Yeah.
Some companies put it on their employees' profiles. So, like, here's Jared from accounts. He's an
EQLZ.
Yeah, of course, he's an EQLZ. Yep. Others use it for team building. Some even use it during the interview process. Some people, probably formally, 2 to 2.5 million people take it every year. At the
when they train you to do it, or I don't know if I'm going to review it. Stop me if I'm
tell me
giving away
anything you
secrets.
Want, anything you want.
When you're trained to do it, they say this should not be used as the be all and end all. You shouldn't entirely categorize a human being. Also, they tell you that your profile will change over time.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And I remember listening to that and going, good for you.
Yeah.
I believe you even more now.
I love, well, good for you also. So why are we doing this?
To capture you in time.
Yeah, capture you at this moment.
Snapshots.
While you're sitting there at that desk.
Personality Snapchat.
Yeah, okay. Look, and
but they were really the group I trained with were extremely vocal about saying you don't share it against people's will. You're very clear that this is not all there is to know about a human being. They're very moral.
That sounds good. That sounds good because as you might guess.
Ironically, I was trained by an ex-priest.
As you might guess, there are critiques.
I've heard rumors.
And so I think there is an interesting question here to ask. Critiques, and yet still that many. But we'll come to that in a sec. But as well as that, there's some people are saying there's thousands of personality type clubs on meetup.com. So you can get
for sure.
like the Toronto INFJs meetup or something like that.
They're the hottest.
I know.
They never wear pants, anywhere.
Or the Canberra ISFPs.
They don't let me talk to them anymore.
Yeah, I've been banned from that one.
I'm an ENFP, and they're like, "Fuck you with your E." I'm an I. You E's make no sense to me.
A lot of people are putting it on their Tinder profiles. I'm sure.
Can you imagine?
Of course, I can imagine.
I was going to have the intercourse with you, but it turns out we differ on one letter. We are discompatible.
Worryingly, okay. So. Children take personality tests to learn which jobs they're suited for. Okay. California prison system once used it to help assign guards.
Good idea.
There's some evidence it's been used to help determine whether people keep or lose custody of a child.
Great idea. Yes, excellent.
Whether they deserved punishment for their crimes or compensation for their injuries.
Whether they deserve it.
Whether they're fit to do dangerous and important jobs. So
I'm gonna be continuing to be most horrified by whether you deserve punishment.
Well, indeed. Yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Well, but keep or lose custody of a child based on how you answer a questionnaire, as opposed to
have you thought about that yourself?
Have you been an utter shit, or
look, no, not have you? Were you an utter shit for reasons that are okay or not okay?
Or can
we
predict based on this test that you will be an utter shit in the future?
Yeah, it's not arguing whether you committed the crime. It's saying, okay, all things being equal, both of you committed a crime. The difference is you're an ENQZ and you're an IQLMP. IQLMPs, they never reoffend.
No.
They're delightful people. For them, it's like tripping over.
Just do once.
It was just like there was a thing in the pavement where they tripped over it, and that was it. So it's not their fault. You, however, straight to hell.
All right. So here's the thing. And this is
Are you Joe Bidening me? Here's the deal.
Shut up, man.
Here's the deal.
I want to know. Is it all bullshit? So you're gonna have comments here, but
I have mixed opinions.
I'm gonna add in, and I think there's ways to qualify a lot of this, but anyway, there's a quote that comes around a fair bit. Catherine Briggs once said, "One need not be a psychologist in order to collect and identify types, any more than one needs to be a botanist to collect and identify plants." I think bullshit. I think
I'm torn on that one.
Collecting and identifying plants doesn't have any impact on the world, whereas, I think a little bit of training mightn't hurt.
Well, look, there are critiques of psychology. I mean, that's a big thing that comes up all the time with this one. It's like they weren't trained psychologists.
I know, and
fuck it all.
I don't actually. That's not my favorite critique. I think that's a bad one because a lot of that is like it seems there's a lot of they were housewives. And it's like,
and it's also the insecurity of psychology as a science, because in the end, if you're taking meticulous records and you're showing your methods, if you're being
so what I will say, exactly. So we will come to that. So yes, one of the first critiques, no basis in clinical psychology. So one thing there, they didn't have clinical psychological training. That's not the point, but I think it's a point for some people, but I don't think it's necessarily a substantive point.
Yeah.
But Jung himself said, look, these are just some sketches. They're not
That's
hard.
what I said.
They're rough tendencies.
These aren't blueprints.
Okay, here's the more substantive critiques.
Yeah.
Test retest validity lies below statistical significance, meaning means that if you test someone more than once, you're likely to get different results. It seems probably about half the time. Now I will flag. I was going to save it for the end. What letters you are, but you may.
I may have messed that up.
Yeah, you might have done. That's all right. That's all right.
Was I consistently that? Did it?
You were consistent to what you.
I'm
claimed
still
to
that.
Me.
Yeah.
Still that. Well, most, not most.
On your 4-question impenetrable bulletproof test.
My bulletproof four question version.
Yes.
I couldn't do the whole 173 questions
Come on
a podcast.
Best podcast episode ever casted.
Indeed. But, there is one podcast. I wanted to do it. And I chickened out of it because it's the 43, I think it's 43. That's a guess. The 43 questions that will make someone fall in love with you. And I'm like.
What if it works?
I know. And supposedly it's quite strong.
Oh, that's hilarious. Imagine by the end of it, I love you, man.
And I read through it and like some of them are really, like they're intense questions. They ask people to do strong things. So I'm like, that would make great content for a podcast, but it's taking a big risk. So
no, man, I'm strong enough.
But yeah, so 50% of people, 5 weeks later, you get different answers.
Yeah.
So that retest validity, it means you're not getting something consistent in someone. You seem to have got something there. I don't know if you're playing or not, but
No, I think part of it might be also the ability and the integrity in the people who answer it. Like, so in some instances, if you're answering honestly, I can imagine you might show more consistency. And the reason you might not be answering honestly is not because you're being nefarious. It might be you literally aren't really sure, or you freak out or panic.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming if you could somehow verify that people are answering directly, honestly, and blah blah blah, I can imagine there could be more consistency.
Look, one of the big questions I think, as we'll come to in a sec, the reasons that it is quite flawed compared with later instruments is the binaries. That it's setting people up into be hard categories.
Yeah.
When we know that things are contextual. It's the great introversion extroversion sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you draw your energy from a party? Yeah, if it's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you draw your energy from cuddling down and reading a nice book? Yeah,
if it's a good one.
It's a good one.
They counter that. They talk to me about this. I will get back to that if you need to.
So yes. So test retest validity below statistical significance, which is a pretty big thing. For sure. The next one. Several analyses have shown that it's totally ineffective at any sort of predicting. So
that's not nothing.
Yeah.
How would you rate it? Totally ineffective. That seems...
So the things that, you know, that they used it originally for predicting how happy you'll be in your marriage, how you'll perform in a job, you know, what sort of role is suited for you. They've done a bunch of analyses and it shows, no. If you look at people afterwards, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So, you know, someone wrote here, any psychological test or a social science test, you know, we ask these questions. Are the categories reliable?
Yeah.
You know, are they going to get the same answers each time? Valid? Are they independent, so they're not overlapping with each other? And they're comprehensive?
Also, are they asking questions about the things they actually think they're asking? Are you measuring what you think you're measuring? Is validity?
That's validity. Yeah, that's good. And so they said, well, look, for the MBTI, the evidence says not very, no, and not really. So not very reliable, no validity, no independence, and not comprehensive, and not really comprehensive.
Not very comprehensive.
So yeah, look, the reason that people say, look, that it is flawed, whilst the underlying reason for being doesn't change. You know, that people might want to categorize. Yeah. The reason that the MBTI is quite flawed is those binary questions. You know, we know that in life everything is contextual. Is it a good book? Is it a good party? You know,
depends who's asking.
Binaries are they just don't work. And so, you know, as Jung said, binaries are useful ways of thinking about people, but there's no pure extrovert and there's no pure introvert.
No.
Any man of either of those would be in a lunatic asylum. If pure extrovert, like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're insane unless you're always surrounded by people giving you energy, or you're insane because unless you were literally only in your own internal world, you'd be fucked up. Neither are good.
Neither work.
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard to find a real psychologist or a research psychologist anywhere. Actually, no, this is a real clinical psychologist or research psychologist who uses the Myers Briggs test with patients. Virtually no major psychology journals have published research on the test.
It's a business tool.
And all of it comes in some dubious outcomes. But this is something I love, though. The company that publishes the test has 3 leading psychologists. I don't know how leading they are on their board.
Maybe they're number 2.
But none of them have used it whatsoever in their research. And I love this. This is a quote from Carl Thoresen, a Stanford psychologist and board member of the company that publishes the test, the CPP.
Yeah.
It would be questioned by my academic colleagues. So happy to be on the board, but I'm never going to use it. Like,
well, was that a condition of board membership? Also Stanford. I mean, we're talking Philip Zimbardo and many other things.
Look, famous for certain things.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
To be fair, Stanford famous for having a crack.
But this is the question that I'm trying to work out here.
Yeah.
Why do people still use it? Because
I got some theories, but carry on.
Well, we'll come to that. It's shown to have no real validity, no real reliability, and it's no real predictive power. But as I said before, 89% of Fortune 500 companies, 2.5 million people, and that's the formal versions of the test. I guarantee you there are
shortcut versions.
There's 100 millions more doing the shortcut versions.
Yeah.
Seems like there's 2 interrelated reasons, and I think you've hinted at both of them a fair bit as to why they seem to why it still seems to be used. So the first one, you can say this in a positive light.
Okay.
And
give it a crack.
It's not nefarious. It's not nefarious.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at the chart, if we either look at the descriptive, the names that I read out before, architecture, mediate, defender, they all sound pretty good. Or if you go into, the longer descriptions, you don't see any negative words. You don't see the word
shithead.
Selfish shithead. You don't see the word shithead.
What's a character type? Shithead. Yeah, to be fair, I knew that. Yeah.
God, I'd love if one corner, you get the shithead corner.
It's true. There is no personality test in the world that I've ever heard of that says, you know what, you're just a fuckwit.
But in normal life, actual life, there are shitheads.
Yes.
And it's like, if every person on the world can be put into this 16 grid, there's no shitheads.
Yeah, everyone's going, where's number 17?
So, no matter what, you're going to get something that's pretty flattering. You get thinker, performer, nurturer, entertainer, campaigner, all of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so people are saying this isn't a test to accurately categorize people, but instead a test to make people feel happy after they've taken it. And so,
Sure, yeah.
And so people, so someone wrote, those who love typing themselves and stuff, they get seduced by an image of their own ideal self. And so you get, there's a bunch of true believers once they've taken the test.
Oh, yeah.
That will say, oh, look, this has revealed something really important about myself. And in fact, a lot of teaching psychologists will tell you stories about this. They go out and give the test to their students, and then they bring them all in, mark them all out, and say, here's who you are this, blah 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 blah, and they give them out to the students just completely at random. And my wife was telling me this story that someone did this recently, and someone got their answer, and they go,
whoa,
holy shit, this you've seen me. You've seen me.
Yeah.
And then supposedly the student actually had a fairly emotional experience. There was
Is this the point where you say, I just made it up?
No, he said, look, I'm sorry, I gave them all at random.
He told them?
Yeah, told them all. Yeah, told them all.
Ethics is a fraught part.
Look, indeed. So
to be fair, if handing them out at random could mean that the person got what actually was them. If it's truly random, it is possible they got exactly what is them.
100%.
Yeah.
And so, this is called, there's a couple of names for this effect. It's the Forer or the Barnum effect or the Pollyanna principle.
I haven't heard of the first two.
Yeah, Barnum, like P.T. Barnum, like
it means you can tightrope walk and do a trapeze thing.
Yeah, with a buffalo, carrying a buffalo, carrying a buffalo over the top.
I only got as far as a calf.
Forer, I'm going to tell you about Forer's study in a sec. He gave basically that version of that study that I'm about to tell you. Barnum is the circus guy.
Yeah.
But so there's a bunch of research where psychologists have done basically this. They go out and they give their students a psychology test.
Yeah.
So Forer, he gave what he called the diagnostic interest blank. Don't know why he called that, to his psychology students.
Okay, yeah.
And told that they would each receive a brief personality vignette or a sketch based on their results later.
Lovely.
One week later, he gave them all a supposedly individualized sketch and asked each of them to rate how well it applied. So here's the key thing.
Let me guess. They all got the same one.
Yes, they did.
I had a feeling. I haven't seen this, but
how well does it apply? And so here's they all say, okay, what he gave them is the sketch was basically, you have a great need for other people to like and admire you.
Whoa.
You have a tendency to be critical of yourself. You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not turned to your advantage.
Oh,
I know.
Sometimes you wonder what it's all about.
Indeed.
There are times when your hair grows faster than you expect. I'm not sure if this is the right color for me. I think I could do this.
Your hair grows faster than you expect. Who has expectations on how fast their hairs grow?
Everyone does at some point in your life.
Jesus Christ. Look, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Here's a probably more formal than yours. Yours are good. There's your sexual adjustment has presented problems for you.
That's a risky one.
At times you have serious doubts as to whether you have made the right decision or done the right thing.
Oh, fuck off.
Exactly. I know. It's so
Are my shoes on the right feet?
Yeah.
Is this hat big enough? It's just, that's awesome.
So all of these are flattering, which are so vague and ambiguous that they apply to everyone. Who doesn't have these thoughts? You can write these in a way. And so he got...
I don't. I'm an ENFP.
Yeah, there you go.
We don't work that way.
He got a rating of from his students of 4.3 in terms of accuracy out of 5.
I was going to say out of 100, that's bad.
Yeah, well, look...
4.3 out of 40, so 86%.
86% said that they were... Or look, they said 86% accurate on average. Like they said...
That's not low.
It's pretty damn accurate.
Yeah, that's not low.
But it's not hard.
No.
You just, what's the last one? Security is one of your major goals in life. Like who says, no, I want to be insecure. I can't...
I know. As a human being, I feel like I have 4 limbs. I mean, it's just like, yes. Sometimes more teeth of mine hurt than others. And I wish I had a third. Just, wow. That's awesome.
Okay. So that's the first reason, I think. People take the MBTI
Yeah.
and they love it. So not only it's telling them something about themselves that is actually, it's vague, but they feel like it's a truism. But you get these statements. So I went to this website.
Yeah.
It's called 16 Questions, I think, which is basically a version of the MBTI. And they're using a lot of the testimonials are on there. It's so incredible to be finally understood.
Oh, yeah.
Or, what's this? I was honestly shocked how accurate it was. I teared up a bit because it was like there was a person looking inside my mind and telling me what they saw. Emma,
Wow. That's
the advocate.
That's called psychosis.
Well, indeed.
There's a person looking inside my mind.
I can't believe how accurate this was. Word for word, I never felt so understood. I never thought I was the only one of my kind. Ashley, the adventurer.
So my question for Ashley and Emma and all the others, it's just a coincidence they're females, just to be woke about it. But
no, Ashley's a boy or girl.
Oh, that's true. So is Robin.
Augustine is next. Augustine the architect.
But what I'd be curious to know is if these people, when they do any type of categorization test, they have similar feelings.
Yes, probably. I would say that there are some types of categorization tests, and I'm not going to do a lot on this later. There are some that are more rigorous and that probably include a bunch of negative words as well.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like a bit of a cunt.
Exactly.
So it turns out I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're in your star sign, most people can probably find a whole bunch of positive in there, and it doesn't say a lot of. I don't know. I don't do star signs, but whereas
having done that too.
Yeah, indeed. So the second reason,
Yep.
the second reason that it is still so current, you flagged a little bit here.
I'm sorry.
It's a little bit of a pyramid scheme.
What?
I know.
What are you talking about?
So the company that runs the test, which they continue to claim as reliable and valid, backed by ongoing global research and development investment. I like that it says backed by ongoing global research and development investment. So it means we're spending money on it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we're actually achieving research outcomes.
No, but in a capitalist system and the market is spending money, that means it's of value.
We spend money.
It's of value. Why would you spend money on things that weren't of value?
So they make $20 million a year on it with the Myers Briggs, the key thing here.
Honestly, is that all? 20 million?
Well, I was actually a bit surprised about that.
I think it's not only one company. That might be the flaw.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I would be kind of surprised if it was just that small. But anyway, they make money. Let's go with they make money.
Oh shit, yeah, they make money. No question they make money, yeah.
So they're charging $15 to $40 each per test, but more importantly, $1,700 to become the administrator. So were you ever certified? Will you get the $1,700? Did you pay the $1,700?
I don't think it was $1,700, but I mean we're talking 25-ish-year-old dollars. But it was, I think it was $500 or $600. It was a 3-day course.
But here's the thing. So once you have been certified as a test administrator, there's a lot of groupthink, shall we say.
Yeah, like intercourse. There's a lot of orgies. Myers Briggs is really just a front.
It was all the erotic novel.
For the group of sexuals.
It was, then you can go into, this 89% of the Fortune 500, hundreds and hundreds of federal agencies in the US, State Department, the CIA. You can go into all of those places
and test them.
And test them.
Literally the reason I did it, I was at the time moving between jobs, and the reason I did it was other consultants who got paid too much money for doing shit all compared to us were administering this test, and I thought, I'm going to get in on that.
I don't doubt it.
That is the reason I did it.
I don't doubt it.
But then I became converted.
And the other thing is that people feel good about it. Like
they really do.
If everyone feels good about it and they're like, "Oh, this is great. You should do this."
Smiles on dials, man.
You'll be told something really good.
Yep.
Then
absolutely.
So there's a lot of people that say, the MBTI crosses from being, a diagnostic test into a full-blown ideology. You get people that are...
No. More than a diagnosis, it's a lifestyle. Let's not call it an ideology.
So
that's just so negative.
There's people that are, that are kicked out of class for questioning if we should use this or not.
Oh, wow.
There's the just shut up and do the test because you will learn from this kind of thing.
So honestly, the way I was trained, they were very severe about the ethics, and they were saying, step back. Anyone doesn't want to do it. Anyone doesn't want to report on it, blah, blah, blah. You just say, yep, I respect that, and you walk away.
And I think that there would probably be a variety of people employing it in different ways.
Yeah, better and worse. Yeah.
So I think there are alternates. Now, this is not a critique of personality testing at all. It's worth
critiquing.
Far more. Well, I'm not. All I'm saying is I'm not doing that critique. There are far more rigorous personality tests out there now.
Yeah.
So there's the Big 5 personality tests.
MMPI.
There you go. Or
Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory. Is that the one?
that's not the one I was going to
You
say,
haven't
but
got
I'll
that
take
one?
it. I'll take it.
MPI,
No, this. So the 5 personality traits, extroversion, emotional stability, agreeableness, conscientiousness, openness. So that's 5.
The
that you
Neo.
get
Neo plus 2.
Yeah, or there's the hexaco, which adds the 6th one. So the honest. Look, guaranteed.
Hexaco,
There are working psychologists that are like, if I make an industry, if I can,
Yeah.
I can find a personality type questionnaire that will be accurate, that will work, and the
Huge money in it. Huge money.
in their defense, if they're working from a ground of research to actually say, is this going to be valid? Is this going to be reliable? Then that's a good place to be. So you flagged a tiny bit here. You flagged a tiny bit at the beginning. The question that I wanna ask.
Yeah.
Now, okay, you said you were reliable. You were an ENFP, which is what are you on this chart? EN. No, you're not on here.
What?
You're a campaigner.
Yeah, that's a shock.
Well,
Like all Scorpios.
can you bear a grudge for a long time?
Seriously, is that one of them?
No.
I was going to say, if that is, you're looking at it going, my God. Actually, maybe this isn't entirely correct.
Look,
Can you bear a grudge for a long time? Is there any choice but to?
Look, I get it.
Yeah.
Your ability to bear a grudge and my ability to bear a grudge, they are. I think of a spectrum that would have to be as far apart as we
I bear
can.
grudges for you all the time. It's exhausting.
I literally forget.
The fuckhead who
you
stole
sliced me.
your hoverboard.
Oh, that happened. That's right.
I'm furious with that person. You don't even remember it happening. I'm like, no, I'm going to get that son of a bitch.
And I thank you for that, man.
Some people say I care too much.
I should be the test. And there's got to be someone that uses the grudge carrying skills of a campaigner.
Yeah.
But this is the one thing.
Yeah.
Is this? There's 2 quotes that stood out while I was reading this that I want to end on. One's positive, and I think this is a really useful thing to throw in here. The other one's a bit more sinister. So this is from Merv Emre, whose book The Personality Brokers that's the Bible on this whole thing. It's totally worth a read.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff comes from Merv Emre's book. Catherine Briggs thought about it as a parenting tool. At the very beginning.
Yep,
there are times where our lives take on a kind of messiness, and we just want something to anchor us in these moments of complexity or confusion. I think the language of type can be immensely clarifying. Even though I'm skeptical of its validity and I'm skeptical of its social uses and even of the language that it uses, I'm not skeptical of people's individual experiences with the indicator, which I think can be tremendously liberatory. And this is the thing.
Sure.
People read this stuff and then they feel like they're seen.
Yeah.
And that sounds really positive to me. That sounds like that's a good in the world. Now, is that dangerous? I don't know.
Let's go sinister then.
Yeah. So here's the sinister one. It took off in corporations, and particularly in the 1980s. And one of the things you see in corporations is a new push to try to help workers figure out how to love what they do. How to be as content doing their work as they are at home. And I think the type indicator emerges as this incredibly useful tool for convincing people that they are doing exactly what it is that they are meant to do and that they should bind themselves to their work freely and gladly.
Do you know what we call that today? Mindfulness.
Oh my God.
That's today's version.
But can you imagine a tool that people are happy to do? They get great results and then they're told, oh, you should be doing this. You are the cog. Oh, when
the reason you're doing this is because you love it.
Oh my God.
You don't even realize you were born to love this. It's in your genes.
So what's that's where I'm sitting. I'm still torn that I don't believe any of it, but I don't care.
I got another
except
one.
for when
corporates
are using
So
it.
here's the thing for me, because I was aware of this from a youthful age, early-ish, mid-20s, popped out of uni by accident, ended up in this industry by accident as well, watching these consultants use it. And then I went on to actually use it and to use a bunch of others. There's one called the Belbin Team Skills Inventory. There's one called DISC. I can't even remember what it stands for. The bottom line was, what struck me that was useful about it was not about what it told people about themselves, but what it told people was, holy shit, people think differently to me.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that one for me was
yeah.
that was the biggest thing I would use it for. Like I'd get people to do some greater or less important version of it or more details and say, did you know, for example, some people when they approach a task give a fuck about the task and others couldn't care. They only care about the other people on their team.
Yeah.
And the people from the opposite side of that spectrum would go, what?
Totally. I get
So
that.
as a tool to go, did you know people are different to you? Excellent.
No, I believe that.
That's my biggest takeaway from my experience with any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they honestly, that's the biggest jaw-dropping, oh my God, I never thought
People
of that before.
different to me.
Yeah. Wait, when you see this problem, you see it from the bottom? I only thought there was a top.
What?
I thought that was the entire side of it.
I totally get that.
But that's how it's, for me, all these things, it's about how they're wielded.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's all down to the facilitator.
Oh my God.
I've thought about this for a while.
Look, I don't know. When I look at this list and I'm like, is there a person who is so scared of being categorized that they can't go into that list?
The anti-categorist.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, like I can't handle it. I got through 8 questions and I was like, no, we can't do this anymore.
What were you after 8?
No, it doesn't tell me. You got to do more.
SQ blue scream.
Ah, there you go. Look, use it. If you're going to use it, use it. Mindfully, but don't put people as cogs in a machine. And just remember, it's not really reliable and
Unless they
not really
be.
valid.
What if they want to be a cog?
Just realize that people are different. That'll do.
That is the best tool.
That'll do.
An active tool for recognizing not only that people are different, but how. I know. Why?
See, it's all about nice hippies. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts.
And thank you, Bruny Island.
Oh, indeed. That was beautiful. Oh, we won't name the other beer, but it's...
next time.
Look, all I'm going to say, it's just watery compared with that delicious Bruny Island.
It's a tough competition, though.
See you next week, listener.